Meeting to order. Please let our minutes show that all of council is in attendance, as well as members of our staff. And we have a special guest in chambers as well. Item 3 is approval of the agenda.
Be resolved that the Council of Hartland approves the agenda for open session as presented. For its regular council meeting on September 10th, 2024.
Second that.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 4, approval of the agenda for our closed session.
Be it resolved that the Council of Hartland approves the agenda for closed session as presented for its regular council meeting on September 10th, 2024.
Seconded.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question on the closed session agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 5 is approval of consent agenda, and there are a couple of items to add. The first being a motion to formalize our decision for the extra debenture. So that is 1. Do we need to do them one at a time, Rob?
You can name them, then you will freeze it yourself again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second item would be a presentation by Dale Albright, who is in the council chambers this evening. So if we could have a motion to approve those 2 consent agendas, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2 consent agendas as described.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agendas. Any question? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 6 is approval of the minutes from our meeting of August 13th, 2024.
Be it resolved that the Council of Hartland approves the minutes as presented of regular council meeting held on August 13th, 2024.
Seconded.
Motion moved and seconded. Any question? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 7, approval of minutes of special meeting on August 27th.
Be it resolved that the Council of Hartland approves the minutes as presented at the special council meeting held on August 27th, 2024.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve those minutes. Any questions? Yes.
Question, yes. What was the special meeting?
And, that will,
Deputy, did you have a?
no, I was voting early.
Okay. Always on the ball. Hearing no more questions, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 8 is disclosure of conflict of interest. Anyone this evening?
Evidently, I must have been here. Not absent.
We got a Joe Biden moment going on here.
Oh, okay. We will move on then to item 9. And we have a presentation by Dale Albright. Yes, yes. And welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, council. I'll be coming, make this presentation. If you remember back, I believe last fall, I came and, talked to you about garbage collection in our towns. And it had to do with my apartment building, and I'm here on behalf of 3 other apartment owners, within the Hartland district. We, have found that our costs have gone through the roof, and garbage collection is one of them. We pay a tremendous amount of money in taxes. We're double taxed on our properties, and at one time that tax was supposedly going to stay stable or be reduced a little bit, but it's heading back up. I guess the 4 of us just feel that there should be something that the town of Hartland could do for us. I've done some checking with other municipalities. The Woodstock municipality, the owners down there, they pay for the service. When it's done on a monthly basis, they receive a bill. They send in the bill to the town of Woodstock, and they're reimbursed for the weight of the garbage. Fornesville, Bristol, Grand Falls are the process of doing the double containers, the black and the blue, I believe they are. Therefore, the apartment owners have to pay for the containers, but the weight is paid for by their towns. We're no different than anybody else that's trying to provide service. And as you all know, I'm sure you've heard it many times, that cost of living is through the roof. We're trying to provide a decent place for people to live and at a reasonable cost. I just want to say, this has nothing to do with both Lee, but I sure am glad to see that big field filled in and there's some activity there. There's some activity across from my house. Brad Dickinson there is building some homes and it's great to see, things that are improving. I would just like to, have the council, I know there's a third reading on a bylaw tonight. And I would just like you to maybe, forego that vote tonight and reconsider whether you pay for the weight of the garbage. I guess that's what we're asking for. Possibly you go 50-50 with us on the weight of the garbage. Back not too many years ago, it was like $100 to $125 a month. Now it's running over 300, 250 to 300 every month. And,
Same volume.
same volume. Mine would be less volume because I now have 7 seniors. Little ladies don't create very much garbage, or there's one gentleman there. My container down there would be half full from 1 week to the next. But, definitely less for sure. Back when I had some families there, you always had more garbage and closets. But anyway, it is a lot less.
10 units,
20,
20 units.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to reconsider, having this vote tonight and possibly rethinking the whole bylaw, if you would, please.
Can I ask a question now?
You sure can.
On behalf of council that may not be familiar with the double taxation area, can you outline how that works in the case of apartment property owners?
If your tax is $1, mine's $2 on my apartments. The same as owning a cottage or anything like that.
So there's no provincial discount for unoccupied.
No,
And as it relates to solid waste, there's no individual pickups, it's all centralized.
no. Yeah,
Thank you.
right now I have a blue steel container there.
For recyclable.
No, just for garbage. We don't have any recyclables. No,
So it's a dumpster, right?
it's a dumpster, just like there are in the town park. They come around and monthly, you get your bill and there's a, cost increase for mileage for gas.
Okay.
Well, they pick up 25, within the hour and they charge everybody the same thing. So it is like they, and there's a certain cost built into the, level amount that we pay.
And you pay it to Carney?
Yes.
Do they pick that up the same day as Garbage Day?
No, mine is Friday. Yeah. I think it's when they pick up the others in town.
Is yours a rented dumpster?
Or me?
You rent a dumpster or is it a bottom one down?
No, it's theirs.
Did they dump it with the?
Yes. Come with the truck, big truck and dump. Yeah.
So you pay a monthly fee for your dumpster rental.
Yes, it's all included in that.
What you're saying is Forceful Bristol and Woodstock are going to a model where the apartment owners would pay for the dumpster and the town would pay for the tipping fees, they call it.
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah.
Anyone have any other questions for Dale?
I just made a note that several of the points we will address when we talk about bylaw.
Okay. Nothing else, so,
I would advise if you're interested, it would be probably good to stay though.
pardon me?
I would recommend if you're interested, it'd be good to stay for that part of the zoning. Just to hear.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item, which is invitation to tour the military museum. I received an email from Aaron Boma of the Carleton County Military Museum, and he has invited members of our council to tour the museum later this month. Tentatively on Wednesday, September 25th. And the museum is opened in November. It opened in November last year, and it's located in Jacksontown. So he has issued an invitation, and we'll consult with all of our calendars, and we can get back to him with an answer now. I think
Was there a proposed time? I think it was 6:30,
6:30.
same as our installing. There was a window that I could move within, that I tentatively said we got to still within.
All right, we'll move on to item 9.2. New Brunswick, what is the,
That's the Center of Excellence, so in your council package, you would have received the note on what FASD stands for.
Yeah.
I would add, that this is we recognized it this year, and we did the same last year, so we repeated. One thing I was mentioning with this is that, while we don't have something to put in front of council at this time, we still have on our to-do list for the town, a policy governing how we recognize things in return. So, each and every individual request doesn't have to be submitted to go through a council motion with the proper attention. So we create policies that these sites will be, or this set will be, generally recognized and what, either individually or according to the category it falls in.
Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Yeah.
May I ask what FASD stands for?
Fetal alcohol syndrome, spectrum disorder.
Okay.
Yeah.
On your back, on the back page, it explains it. What it is.
Oh, okay. Is that possible to do that? To put a red light on? Jed?
Yes.
yes, but we are reviewing.
This one we already did, we did it last year, so we just
Okay.
repeated it. It was
Okay.
for a past statement
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
But, I mentioned here just to make note of the, request and secondarily say that, again, rather than funneling each and every individual member, what we'll do is, maybe as early as the next committee of the whole, let's make a policy suggestion and how we can administer that.
That would be a good one to add to that agenda.
We probably get a dozen, we got in a year
Okay.
in various causes.
You need a motion.
Is this the
same
one?
Okay, item 9.3, hanging basket fundraiser.
So, since our last meeting, we received an email from a member of the Covered Bridge Events Committee. And they suggested the town to raise funds and beautify the town, by selling right to hang, flower baskets in the town, in memory of a loved one, or for perhaps another reason. So, this is one of those suggestions that on the surface, very good suggestion, below surface, very good suggestion, but there's some details that probably need to be considered and worked out and discussed by council. So what we're planning on doing is to take this away, the town, prepare some, information for council and have this discussed over the committee of the whole.
The village of McAdam does this on the telephone poles down there. Buy a plaque and they will install it on a telephone pole in memory of so-and-so that passed away. And it's on most of the poles in town.
Not legal to affect anything to a telephone pole or any solid place.
I don't believe so. I mean, to Councilor Britton's point,
It's on poles down there.
It's one thing that's very common is to see photos of graduates, high school graduates on, they go put up for a time after, and you see them in memory of the, veterans. So there's several sort of, potential, user groups, if you will, that are represented, and so that's part of why we did sort of think through and that point as well, just needs to be confirmed as to what exactly are the rights and responsibilities when you do that. I think you're allowed to, but there may be responsibilities that come with it, so.
I appreciate that. And item 9.4 is a crosswalk request.
So this is just to indicate that we received from a resident a request for the crosswalk in Craig Court. I would say this is really, I mentioned in part because it falls in a series of things about concerns about speeding in town and, High Street and further. So anyway, there's been similar requests for several streets, so, I think, maybe working internally here with, our, public works manager and, we need to put together, and our operations, we need to put a package together, sort of thing we do. We're still trying to find like speed indicators, and we kind of are doing some work on, we're trying to find an affordable solution there, but, to me, there's a set of things we need to sort of consider and actually come back to council with.
The sidewalk on both sides,
Yeah.
and that's not street, and no crosswalk.
Okay, we will move on to our reports, item 10, beginning with, my report. On August 15th, I had a meeting, with the RSC. There've been a couple of meetings this month in regards to the potential of exploring trail use, and a couple of meetings in regard to the wind farm, project that is proposed. So outside of our regular council meetings, those were my special meetings that I attended. I did want to acknowledge a letter that we received from Ryan Thompson, and he was one of the recipients of our municipality apartment scholarships. And he said, I would like to personally thank you for donating to the graduating class of 2024 at HCS. I would also like to thank you, the municipality apartment, for choosing me for one of the municipality apartment scholarships. I can assure you that all the money that I received from these scholarships will be used well and will help me make my way through my post-secondary studies. Sincerely, Riley Thompson. So I'd like to acknowledge that as well. And school year has begun again, and we'll look forward to that process again this year. Move on to Deputy Mayor Fairfield, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've attended all town council regular meetings, including August 27th. We have a committee meeting from August 22nd, finance and infrastructure, minutes of which are included in your council package. And most recently, earlier this morning, Nigel and myself attended the announcement from Western Valley Special Olympics to announce that they are the hosts for the provincial Special Olympics games next year, taking part in July. And we're hoping that Hartland will be one of the host communities for that. So that's a very exciting news from Special Olympics. That's all that I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Britton.
Your Worship, I've attended all of these, regular council meetings, plus the, special meeting on the 27th. And I apologize for my comment earlier because I just had a chuckle to myself when I opened my mouth. But, I find it amusing that, if anyone ever read the minutes of any of the meetings, that I've never attended anything, because my name has never been on any of these meetings. And I've attended them all. That's all I have to report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Britton. And Councillor Patterson.
I'm like, for Britain, and all city meetings, been involved in QCCC fundraising, various meetings, various weeks. And other than that, I've been busy getting my daughter to university and my son off to different high schools, so I'm a little bit busy.
Just a little.
You're old enough to have a kid going to university. Holy,
The child will want to bet on you.
Councillor Jason Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did not attend the August 27th meeting. It's not in my mind that I did. I believe I was otherwise engaged with some personal matters. But I did attend one of the Trailway meetings that we held separately. I did attend one of the Brighton Wind Farm presentations as well, and regular council meetings, and a number of our finance infrastructure meetings leading up to the 27th, the special council meeting. So other than that, I've been a bit busy too, resuming with a new school year. So,
Your Worship, may I say something? I think council should extend to you, if they have not already, condolences, because we've lost an ex-mayor of Hartland, and you have our sympathy.
thank you.
Or just one.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Michael Bowman.
I have just attended the two meetings in August, and that's it for the month. Good,
That's good for you.
yeah.
Councillor Sam Bowman.
Thank you, your worship. Like everyone else, I've attended all council meetings along with the August 22nd Finance and Infrastructure meeting and the special meeting on the 27th. I'd like to take this time to thank the rec department, public works, and all the volunteers for a successful U12 and U14 jamboree we had this past weekend. It was very well put on. A special thanks to Sean for being there all day, helping out with everything. He was barbecuing and, you know, everything ran very smoothly. And it's not often that you go to one of these events that it runs as smoothly as this did. And it just so happens that Hartland won both. So.
Hamburgers if you need.
I'm not sure. Other than that, that's it for me. And, yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your reports. Thank you for your continued busyness on behalf of the municipality of Hartland. We appreciate your efforts.
Your worship, if I could follow up on Councillor Britton's comments regarding former Mayor Neville Hargrove who
Yes,
passed
please.
away. You know, as we look up on the wall, obviously he was mayor of Hartland and he also served on council. But Neville was also a champion for all things related to the Lions Club and community events. He was a donor and more importantly, a worker, and he didn't mind getting his hands dirty on any number of projects that were ongoing. And sometimes the Lions Club would have been involved, and he was certainly a longtime member of that organization. But even if it wasn't, Project Plexiglass, when we first got plexiglass at our new arena, I remember him being very involved in that and any number of things. We lost a real community-minded individual, and to Jason and his family and all those that knew Mr. Hargrove, our condolences.
Thank you. Well said. Item 12 is business from a prior meeting, and item 12.1 is regarding transfers to capital reserves.
All right, so, thus far, we've done one round of transferring money to, our reserves from our operating fund. And, upon, a review with the treasurer, we believe it is time when we are in position to do an additional, set of, transfers. So these are all transfers from our general operating fund to our general, capital reserve fund. So there are no transfers from our utility operating fund or utility capital reserve fund because we've done 100% of what was in the budget. So after we do this, this will represent, I believe, slightly more than half of the reserves will have been allocated if this is approved tonight. So far, it's rough. To date, we've done about a quarter of the budgeted amount. This will take us to just over half.
So these would be considered regular budgetary transfers?
Yes. And they were certainly in the 2024 budget.
Be it resolved that Council of Hartland approves the transfer of $12,500 from the general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund. Councillor Smith.
Second, Councillor Britton.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried.
Be it resolved that Council of Hartland approves the transfer of $7,500 from the general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund for transportation. Councillor Smith.
Seconded, Councillor Patterson.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried.
Be it resolved that Council of Hartland approves the transfer of $12,500 from the general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund for the fire department.
Second, Councillor Sam Walden.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. The consent item now, which we're. Okay. Okay. Item 12.2 is the bylaw B30 respecting waste collection and disposal.
So what I'll do is I'll address some of the points that Mr. Albright raised. I'll also go through some of the changes that are in this from the last version read at council. So I'll start with that. On the matter of who pays disposal, who pays collection. In the past in Hartland, there had not been consistency in all cases. There were instances of apartment owner paying one and not the other. There were instances of paying both. I don't think there were any instances of not paying anything, but in any event, that was corrected last year. So we have, but in Hartland, under the terms of the last contract we signed with BJ's Palace, apartment owners do pay for both. And if you look around the province, that is not unusual. It may not be the policies in Woodstock or parts of Carl North, but it is policy elsewhere. So another thing is that this particular bylaw does not regard the cost. Having just said that, this doesn't have to do with cost. This bylaw is about what types of how we do waste collection and disposal in Hartland. Difference when someone has to use a bin, when someone has to use a dumpster, et cetera. So what people pay in terms of costs in that decision, disposal and collection is something that if we were to change, it would be done through the budgeting process. And it would also mean that we would have to go back to JS Palace and amend our contract and to determine what the implication would be. So this bylaw does not, there are no costs in here for also, yeah.
Was it earlier this year we signed our contract with JS Palace?
Yeah.
And was that for a fixed term? Was it for the calendar year?
It was 5 years.
5 years?
Another point is that, with the change to circular materials that took place earlier this year, and with that, the circular materials, the company formed, as a, by companies that produce, waste. If, people have dumpster, if they use more recycling, they can reduce their cost. That's one of the tricks. So that's something that we can, that should be discussed and talked about, is that provides a new opportunity by putting less in the main waste and more into recycling. You can reduce your cost, because what goes in recycling, we do not pay for, and it wouldn't be paid for by the tenant. So there is that. Regarding the double taxation point, that is another provincial policy, not municipal policy, to be clear. So that's nothing that the municipality determines.
In fairness, when I brought that up with Mr. Albright, it was for clarification purposes.
Sure, and that same thing for what I'm learning. Just simply say that if anyone listening, it's not something that Hartland decided to do with municipality, that's provincial policy. So it's not something that we can change, if you will.
So if we're doing a bylaw for garbage disposal, we can't include the cost in it?
Taxation is what I was just talking about. So the business of how properties are taxed is not what ends up being classified as a commercial property, a residential property, how the taxes are applied. We set our tax rate, the portion we do, which has changed nominally over the last 2 years. But I think what Mr. Albright was referring to was the double taxation policy of the province, which is universal and global, every tax.
Only the province will be vote.
Fair enough, but it's a provincial policy.
Only the province will vote.
So the other thing, what this bylaw does do, after addressing last year the issue of disposal and collection, ensuring that all apartment owners are treated, if you will, the very same way. The one outstanding issue there is right now as we speak is that the policy that determines when certain apartment owners are required to have dumpsters, whether they buy them and rent them, and when they do not, is still undecided. So this bylaw addresses that, and it provides a definition which clarifies that, makes it a standard rule for everyone. So when it is applied, it'll make it so there is no inconsistency in that respect either. Everyone will be treated according to the bylaw toward the definition here, which I'll go over here momentarily.
So you're saying there is inconsistency right now?
There is, because, and this is also partly a factor of amalgamation, in the sense that There are apartment buildings in Greater Hartland, if you will, that maybe put bins down the road in Somerville or in Brighton or somewhere, and there are other ones that had dumpsters. And there are ones where JS Bells might have driven on the property, picked things up, and ones where they didn't, et cetera. So this creates a rule which JS Bells can apply, which will make it standard, and there won't be exceptions. The other factor here that is worth noting, and it may have been something that alluded, I think I might, hopefully I mentioned it. The effective date of this is January 1st. Because this will mean that some apartment owners will have to get dumpsters, for example. So there'll be a transition period that we'll use in the fourth quarter, wherein we'll need to notify the apartment owners of the change in policy, and then give them time to make arrangements to get the, if there is a requirement to get a dumpster, for them to get that dumpster. So yes, that's why in this bylaw, there's an enactment date that is different, which will be, if we vote the third tonight, which will be separate from the effective date of the bylaw if we go into effect on January 1st. So it could be enacted this evening and put into effect. And I'd say the time, and on that matter, the time sensitivity, why you would think to go 35 reading this evening is that every month that we have to notify people and give them time to make arrangements, and for them, if these are businesses, which departments are, the budget and plan for next year, it all gives them time to be able to do that, and for us to go out and contact them. So, and again, this one does not speak to, it does not speak to the cost. So that's not under the purview or something like this. So looking at the bylaw, what I would turn your attention to is we'll go sort of item by item on what has either changed or is worth looking at more closely. So one, since the last bylaw council saw, one thing that had been identified is that especially in Greater Hartland, it is common for people to have garbage receptacles, we'll call it, and just think of a wooden box that people have at the end of the driveway in farms or rural areas, where they put garbage bags in them. Well, maybe some are even large enough to have whole bins inside receptacles. So, what we did was we changed the definition of receptacle to be, let's call it the wooden box for shorthand. And we added for the bin/trash can to differentiate those two things. So there's the bin or trash can, the individual circular round one. There's the receptacle, which is, again, you can think of a wooden box at the end of the driveway, should be picked up. And then there's the dumpster, which is for commercial properties, including the gardens. So the definition of that, and I'll read it here. And F is for garbage bin. So garbage bin or garbage can refers to a small, medium-sized container that temporarily stores garbage, rubbish, etc. In plastic bags or loose form. A common garbage bin may be purchased from a store and can be lifted and directly emptied by the garbage contractor. So that's kind of the key distinguishing point. And if you read, as we will in a moment, the receptacle, they do not lift those garbage receptacles. They don't lift the wooden boxes. They lift cans and empty them into the garbage truck. They don't do that with the garbage bins. They take the garbage bags out. So if we flip over, if you will, or go to 1H, that's where we see the garbage receptacle. So it refers to a medium to large size container that temporarily stores garbage, rubbish, refuse in plastic bags. A receptacle may be of commercial or homemade construction and is not meant to be lifted or directly emptied by the garbage contractor. So that's the definition which I think distinguishes one from the other. Now, that was the change. 1P and 1Q are exactly as they were before, and this is these are the definitions that provide the critical distinction between when you have to have a dumpster and when you do not. So type A residential property refers to any residential property in which 4 or fewer dwellings, so that's 1, 2, 3, or 4 dwellings, dwelling units rather, access a public road or street through one private road, driveway, or vehicle entrance. So you can think, and this one is easier to do if you visualize, and if you think of any apartment, if there's an apartment, and they get to a public road street through one driveway and 4 units, then, that is a type A residential property. And without rereading the whole thing, the type B is when it's 5 or more. So it's 4 under, 5 or more. That is in our investigation, if you will, of this, that is the common standard you find applied in almost every municipality in the province where they have stipulated that distinction. It's 4 under, 5 or more. So we went with that. It's also what J.S. Ballas recommended as being over there. So it's 4 under, 5 or more.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Lee, at your place, how does it work up there?
We have a dumpster.
You have a dumpster? For all of the units or?
Well, currently Rockland Road still gets picked up because there's a main drag, but the balance does not go down McLean Avenue. So we have a dumpster in the back corner of by the ball field per se. And I have a gentleman pick up some of them because there's seniors living there and the rest all took drove
Because there's bins up there, is there not? Individual bins?
all over the Rockland Road until the end of this view.
Yeah, what about some of them?
Someone has currently a bin, like a wooden bin on, so it's part of the contract and all fixed up because it was part of the one contract. So again, so that changes, it'll be a dumpster once we put in there.
Yeah. The next section I turn your attention to is because we've introduced the definition of garbage bin as distinguished from or different than a garbage receptacle. There were small changes made to, in some cases, to A and I, A through I. So, but I'll just read them. All garbage in 3A, all garbage placed outside the building shall be kept inside a garbage bin, a garbage receptacle, or a dumpster. So that's just the general statement. It's one of those 3 options. 3B, garbage bins shall be made of metal or plastic and equipped with handles and covers that fit tightly. In the last edition of it, it may have said or did say garbage receptacles may be made of metal or plastic, which would have been problematic because we have lots of wooden garbage receptacles in maybe some in Hartland, but more so in the, or I should say old Hartland in the former LSD area. So now the garbage bins, metal or plastic, equipped with handles and covers it fit tightly. So 3C, garbage bins shall not remain curbside or roadside beyond the date of collection. That's a standard that's not changed from last one. 3D, garbage bins shall be placed for collection with their covers secured in a place curbside or roadside, not earlier than 24 hours prior to the scheduled time of collection. So 24 hours is a larger window than many other municipalities have, that more near the 12, so we need 24, more lenient, more flexible. 3E rather, garbage receptacles, and again, we're talking about the wooden boxes again, as an example. Garbage receptacles shall be watertight, maintained in good condition at all times, and have a capacity of not less than 50 liters and not more than 240 liters. 3F, no person shall place a single garbage bag that weighs more than 23 kilograms or 50 pounds in a garbage bin or a garbage receptacle. So it's a weight restriction, very common. Finding that, and again, no change from the prior version. 3G, a garbage bin or receptacle that contains garbage must be emptied within 21 days. So that again is a longer lead than what many provide. Many provide, some provide as little as 1 week, it's some 2 weeks. So we're going to 3 here, and it's for flexibility. For those who on vacation or away, to make arrangements they not be out. So
Item F that refers to the weight, is that a JS Buzz requirement or ask as well?
it is, I'm saying I wouldn't say it's a requirement, it would be what they advise. And
They won't, sometimes they won't, if it's too heavy, they won't pick it up. I think it's always.
yeah, they
been that
can
way.
refuse to pick up if their weight is too great, or if it's not properly sealed or various things, they can refuse for a few different reasons. But if it's simply too heavy, that's true.
Western Valley typically provided a mail out on an annual basis that identified how to dispose of things, like, for example, if you tore up a rug, they're not gonna take 12 feet wide, that's a roll that big. But if you cut it up and bound it appropriately, they would take it. So,
And, the other ones are unchanged, the H, I, J, and K are as before, and no change in all pretty standard, standard clauses.
So what H
And
says,
there's actually no other changes in the rest of this.
so what H says, so like, there are people, when there is big collection day, they will go drive through places. And if there's something they like, they take it. This is prohibiting that.
It is.
Dad's gonna be upset.
And I might add, I mean, this is one of those clauses that when creating this, I wouldn't have, if I, off my own volition, I may not have, thought of that, if you will, but it tends to be a pretty standard.
Like, I'm just saying, some people used to throw dressers out on big garbage collection day, and somebody may drive by and see a hidden gem in that, and they take it.
I actually
It'd be hard to.
encourage this one. We've been speaking a lot at the RSC level regarding waste collection and recycling and that sort of thing. And I'm very contrary to this particular item because I think the more you put at the curbside that people take away, the less goes into the landfill. So
I would say it's not an essential, if we could, if we were to approve the rest, in my view, that's not an essential or super critical item. It is one that was common, but
What article are we talking about?
H.
age.
3H.
Oh, well, and on that note, some people courteously say, please take it if you wish. They have a little sign on some things that aren't necessarily bad. So it is inviting the folks that like to pick things over. I've maybe scavenged a barbecue or two on my street at one time.
If you really wanted to go, put a price tag on it, someone will steal it.
Well, just too, like Greg one time put out tires by the road that were
Yeah.
pretty much brand new for the garbage collection and somebody grabbed them. But I mean, that like, it's gonna be impossible to enforce. I don't think that that's really an issue, but some people may have issue with it, I guess. I don't know, but it's no reason to not read.
And in effect, some of the rules without, the risk of introducing, are really guidelines or encouragements. They're not practically enforceable, but, they're more guidelines, to encourage behaviors.
Nothing to get caught.
This one is specific, the word child.
It is,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It could be struck if council, in my opinion, it would, it's not a critical or essential part of the bylaw, but it is one, again, you find in other bylaws.
If we had some local raccoons, for example, picking through and leaving refuse all over the place from someone's yard, I think that may be an area where you could enforce the bylaw if there was something very specific that there is a known individual or two to be doing that left an additional mess.
What are you gonna do, charge the raccoons?
Well, I was using raccoons as a colloquialism
I
for
know you're.
a euphemism.
Nothing to get hung up on. It's an issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
And again, I think the rest of the bylaw is as written before, but, sort of for the repeat the point, sections 4 and 5 are the ones that explain that, type A residential, properties for simplicity's sake, can use bins, and type, B residential properties, require dumpsters. Okay.
So to get to Mr. Albright's point and to give him, would there be, would that be something the infrastructure, not infrastructure, but the finance or the committee would look at going forward to give relief in that aspect? That'd be something that we would tackle in that committee?
Yeah, I would, for sure, yes. It is something that as a practical matter, I mean, you could change midstream or look at changing it, but our budget is premised on garbage collection is expensive. We have more and more properties in our, our town and our apartments with more being developed, and we'll have many more, hopefully, next year or the year and the year after. So, that all comes at a consequence in the budget and a price. And I would add one other minor point is that the council has decided, for those listening, there was a reduction in water and sewer fees for apartments, that other towns do not offer. If you compare ours to Woodstock or other places, ours are lower. And so there was that consideration given by council to apartment owners. So yes, but to your
Am I allowed
point,
to make the comment?
what's up?
Am I allowed to make the comment?
Directed toward the chair, but typically not.
Okay,
Can I ask him something?
no,
You'd ask the mayor.
I'll talk to you.
You'd ask the mayor. You'd address-
May I ask him a question? If this bylaw goes through and the council is going to address the weight problem, in another committee, does that satisfy your?
I think it's giving more consideration than what I knew of until tonight. Yes,
But weight is your concern.
I gotta pay for the container, whether I have it or whatever, yes. But it's the weight that gets, yes, you're correct.
And the receptacle that the CIO mentioned earlier that would separate environmental product would reduce your weight.
It's not gonna reduce it that much. Really. I mean, I understand that there's that possibility of coming in. But I don't know how much you have in your homes, but I mean, duty is very particular about that kind of thing, and we don't have a lot.
My wife discovered Amazon.
I can't, I'm not in a position to give precise, figures on. Anecdotally though, if you look at, most of the rest of the Canada has pretty aggressive recycling programs and they reduce their waste considerably. That's not to be argumentative, but they reduce the weight and the quantity. You can both food waste as well as plastic, cardboard, paper. So, in New Brunswick, we are one of the least progressive, if you will, provinces in the country.
We could even say we're defenders.
Yeah, not,
At the same time.
I've been in meetings with the mayor where that's a generally recognized fact that.
I'd like to really,
We're not, and that you can say, but we have to do things very.
I'd like to really have comparisons of what we have compared to our wood stocks and our council system. Know exactly where we stand compared to these other people. Are we within reason when it comes to them? Or are we more than them? So I'd love to have some comparisons of what they are and then.
You want to see those comparisons before the third reading of the document?
I will.
Again, though, my challenge to council on this, though, is that this is not direct dealing with this. This bylaw does not have to do with cost. So if your concern is cost.
Yeah,
there's no
no,
reason not to
I'm
read this
concerned
bylaw.
it's a cost.
If your concern is cost, there is no reason not to move forward with.
Yeah,
reading this
no,
bylaw.
I'm not saying that. I'm
But-
saying cost.
And when we get to recount, when we passed the JS Bellis, when we signed that contract, that went before council. That was approved by council, and at that time, we did those exact comparatives with neighboring municipalities and with other municipalities and problems. Now, there's no reason not to revisit those. And
Yeah,
if you
no, that's
look
what
at
I'm
those
saying.
budgets every year, it's probably something annually, it should be a consideration.
And that's all I'm
We
saying.
always look at that, and we will do that. But on that matter, like this, again, this bylaw, if the concern is cost and who pays for collection, disposal and weight, that is a matter to be discussed through the budget.
Exactly.
And just as a point of clarification, because I can see where it could be misunderstood, no cost isn't stipulated in the bylaw, but under 5C and D or type B property, residential property owners, it does specify that they are responsible for the purchase or rent of dumpsters from the garbage collector. So in a roundabout way, cost is placed on the.
Yeah, but you're talking, that's talking about the cost
Yeah.
of the bins and
Right.
whatnot.
Well,
not
that
the
and-
cost of the weight.
That's right.
Let's, this is an important point though. There are apartment owners in Hartland today who have dumpsters to pay for them. There are apartment owners who under this bylaw would have them, but do not have them today. That would pay for them. And there are apartment owners that may have dumpsters that would not be required to have dumpsters and switch to bins as a result of this. So it's indirect. No, this is clarifying and making a rule for when dumpster fine when they don't, that does not exist today. Right, so now, council certainly could say, I don't like 105 and more. Council could say it should be a different number. I think that is it's certainly the standard. When I say I think it's good, it's not because I personally think it's good or have some, it's because it tends to be the rule that is applied almost everywhere in the province and outside the province. It's 4 under 5 or more. That's the rule. So we went with very intentionally and deliberately, we didn't try to invent or deviate from what is the norm. We went with the norm and that's what's in this bylaw. So again, while one could say, yes, of course, it translates into cost in the back end. The fact of the matter is, again, we have apartment units with dumpsters today. They pay for them. We have other apartments that should have dumpsters or would have under this bylaw that don't. This makes it, because the common complaint coming in, and which was a fair one, by those here, is that there was not a universal or global standard that was applied throughout Hartland. This bylaw would give us that, and therefore would remove the issue of the perception of inequality when it came to how Hartland owners are treated.
So.
I just think that, as a council too, with Mr. Albright's concern, I know this isn't to do with this, but I think with our infrastructure committee meetings, if there's any way to, I guess, going forward with the budget, is there any way to help, rent increases and stuff? I think we should look at it, but like I said, that's a different committee and a different thing, but.
What I was just
I
going,
know that Tina is the clerk for the Finance and Infrastructure Committee. If you email her and ask for that to be on the agenda for discussion at our next meeting, it'll be an agenda item.
Okay.
We can address it.
So I guess what he's asking is that, that the cost will be addressed at the committee meeting.
It'll be
well,
discussed.
examined, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we can say is that, well, I mean, if we were, for example, let's just call it for, you referenced the Woodstock policy. If we were to implement the Woodstock policy in terms of who pays for disposal, who pays for collection, what would that cost Hartland? Does that equate to $150,000 a year? Does it equate to $200,000? Equal to $75,000? We can translate that and estimate that with JSPLs. That was something we did when we did something before we signed the contract. We made that exact, calculation and decision based on it, because it would have a consequence to, of course, to our budget. So in the course of doing this year's budget, we'll do that same thing again, and we will look at the neighboring rates and we'll see what the implication is. And of course, it'll be council's decision whether they want to go. And I think in terms of opening, we wouldn't pay a penalty or something. I don't believe if we went and renegotiated with JSPLs, it would just be an adjustment that would be made in next year's billing. So that's not really an impediment to change. It's just a matter of whether that is the policy that council would want with the full understanding of what the financial implications are.
And that's in consideration as well with the reduction in price of water and sewer.
Yeah. They would look at all.
There's been some difference in that as
And
well.
that's fine, I just,
Balance things out, so.
yeah, I just, and you're really overlooking the final. I'd prefer to look at our other communities and make sure that we're competitive with them. And I know we've already made that decision further, but we should be looking at what Woodstock is doing and Forest Bristol, because it all has concerns in regards to rentals of our community and
it's especially with your, Councillor Baldwin point. The added reason to look at this again is because we are contemplating having hopefully we'll have a very good build program of new apartments, which that'll be a factor in their life. So, yeah, it's entirely important time that we look at.
yeah,
Great.
And so what this is doing is making the rules the same for everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
Same.
Great work, Rob. Good.
Good wordsmithing.
Is this gonna be posted on the town's website for public review?
It has been posted for 3 months.
Perfect.
So there are two motions before you.
Be it resolved that Council of Hartland approves the second reading of bylaw B30, having the title respecting waste collection and disposal, which has the following sections: title, definitions, garbage receptacles collection and disposal, garbage receptacles type A residential properties, garbage receptacles type B residential properties, yard waste collection and disposal, special garbage collection and disposal, recycling, penalties and enforcement, effective date, and signatures, Councillor Smith.
Seconded, Councilor Fairgrave.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried.
Be it resolved that the Council of Hartland approves the third and final reading of bylaw B30, having the title respecting waste collection and disposal. Councillor Smith.
Second, Councillor Sam Walton.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion is carried. Item 12.3. So thank you so much for that, and as you heard, that discussion will go to the financial. Committee. Thank you.
Sam Walton, going to send an email to Tina Belfield. Vote it down.
Discussion of the Brighton Wind.
That was the implication.
So,
Because that.
the mayor and myself and Councillor Smith attended a meeting earlier today, hosted by the province that explained the EIA process or environmental impact, assessment process that the province is applying, has applied and continues to apply to, as it considers and evaluates. So there have been discussions in the past about what steps, if any, the municipality might take to share information with the public about this. So I offer proposed motions. They're not necessarily intended to be read. This is meant to have a discussion with council on whether if there's any action taken in the short term regarding this.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to speak to this, to Gail Weber, just because I know that I've spoken passionately at previous meetings about, what's been asked of us as a council to review and consider, and certainly have spoken to a number of people about it and done an extensive amount of research. Presentation today by, the government on how the process is conducted, was concise and clear. I think that mirrors what was in the document if you had read it previously this summer. Seeing the timelines in linear fashion, pictorially represented were nice. But I guess the piece that comes to mind is we were asked by citizens, what could we do? Can we share something? Can we host a session? The reality is that we don't have any ability to really promote or stop the process that's going on. It's a process that was started because an applicant submitted a proposal to the agency, and they're following a due process. So there's nothing, in terms of our responsibility that, or any way that we can maybe act on behalf of citizens if someone didn't want to see this go forward or to intervene on their behalf. There's none of that can happen from this. So the question that really is in front of us is, what type of information, if we were to host a session, would we really share? And, we took the 3 pages of notes that we collected today from our Q&A with the presenters. We could share what the process is like, or we could invite individuals to share that process, but that's not the proponent that put the proposal out for the wind farm. And so, we talked amongst ourselves about what's the right thing to do, because we want our citizens to have information around the wind farm. And we really don't know, after listening today, what we would really present. Do people want to hear the facts from one side of, wind farming versus the other side of wind farming, for and against, the neutral ground in between? Do people want to know what's going to happen with the electricity that's produced from it and who's buying it, what the costs are going to be associated with it? Because that's not part of the process. That's not part of anything to do with the government on that end at this point in juncture. So there's lots of questions that we still have. And we were told today that those really should move forward. If it's specifically about concerns related to the environmental impact assessment, we would still have the opportunity to send those questions forward to the proponent that has the proposal put forward. There are some questions around the process, if people have that they could send to the government, specifically to the environmental impact agency. So there's 2 different types of questions, and if you're in doubt, you can send them to both. But I don't know what we would share really that would be beneficial for people to know about this. So that is, leading to the the three motions that are before us, are very specific.
Could I ask you to clarify something?
Yes,
You use the words, we don't know what to share.
right.
Would it be accurate to say we don't know what to share at this time?
Well, maybe. One of the things that we asked for today was a document that would show us where we are in the process, what has been done to date, and where are we? Verbally, it was shared that we're still in the first part of the process, which is really, collecting, information from First Nations and the TRC, which is the, Technical Review Committee. And that information is laterally going back and forth, and part of that is the proponent collecting, questions and concerns from those that are affected, and that would be community members, First Nations and others on, whatever their concerns are, because they have to produce a report about those concerns and how they plan to mitigate concerns that have been raised. So that process was laid out as a 30-day process. And they're still in the midst of that piece of it. So, it hasn't gone further than that is what we were told today, but they were going to send us a document that shares kind of where we are to date, or where they are to date with that process.
And we were reminded today that this isn't a new process. This has been the structure since the 1980s.
87.
So it's, it's not new. It's been going on, this whole process since that time. So I think what the questions that they ask, the requirements that they have, any questions that we had, it was an appropriate answer. Yes, we checked this. This is all part of the process.
Provincial EIA,
Yes.
any indication if a federal EIA will be required?
That wasn't asked, and they didn't talk about that. They referenced the province specifically in that there were three outcomes that are probable from this process. The first outcome is, sorry, I'm gonna find that. The first outcome was, there we go. That you could have it put on pause because there might be implications that were not well understood. So, they talked about technologies, they gave examples of new nuclear energies that are being considered that, in situations where there's something that's not well understood by maybe the technical groups brought together and or the public, that they sometimes see things put on pause and work through takes a little longer than what would traditionally be a 6-month process.
The reason I had asked that was that town of Woodstock, when they built their water and sewer facility that's outside the town limits in Lower Woodstock, towards the Woodstock First Nation, that triggered a federal EIA.
Well, and so the only thing that was brought up today that I could share in the meeting that may have that type of implication would be whether or not with First Nations and we understand there's a current case before the Court of Queen's Bench related to ownership of the land. So that might trigger that as well, but that wasn't discussed at length, but certainly that was a consideration.
So generally, despite your best efforts, there's really nothing to communicate with regards to this project at this time, other than the EIA process.
Right. So what I might add is that, I think to your point, when you think of that at this time, my general, I hesitate to call it, advice or counsel, will be, at this time, it seems not the right time for public meeting of some sort, or even presentations to council, that sort of thing. What information could be shared was much of what we heard today. And it would not be, unuseful or invalid in the sense that, like, if someone had the question, are the Indigenous being consulted through this process? Yes, they are. Now they might have like, do we do that? Yes, they do that. What is an outline of what that process is, like we saw today, what is happening? We could explain that. If you had questions that you wanted to ask about the project, where would I direct those questions? We can answer that and say, this is where you can answer those questions. So there is a subset of questions that we could ask and answer in an FAQ format and put on our website, which would not be saying it's good or bad or for or against. It would simply be providing information that would be useful to the public, but would not take a position on, wind farms, cause this or have this effect. It wouldn't be that type of a Q&A. It wouldn't be a technical one. It wouldn't be scientific. It would be procedural, and it would give people information about what's happening.
And I believe if we do have an open discussion with a public forum, that it may turn into something that's not beneficial. It's gonna turn into people standing firm on one side or the other and people not actually getting information. I think that's what it will turn into.
I think one of the points, and then Councillor Smith and the mayor could, I think at one point, the prime presenter today mentioned, like, if you have questions about this, the thing to do is to direct it through the EIA process that exists, that's what it's there for. So it doesn't need to be a supplement if you. And it's like the mayor said, this has been a process they've used since 1980s for every project. And one of the things they did today was they showed sort of online the list of, you can go and look at any project that's gone through this since 1987. And go look it up and see the report and see what happened and all the rest. So this is going through that process. So my thought would be, or maybe a proposal would be, there could be a simple FAQ that we would share with the public, which would be helpful and would provide good advice for the public, but that FAQ would not stray or wander into the territory of, where you're saying pro con, yes or no,
Yeah.
good or bad, on technical matters that we all are familiar with, and, the effects on people and the environment on birds and so forth. It would be more about, how you can, what's taking place in terms of the process, EIA with the province, how you can participate, what's been done, et cetera. So that information is available, it's factual, it's non-controversial, and yet still useful.
Agreed? Absolutely.
So just for anybody listening here from the public, we did ask some specific questions today that have been asked of us. For example, what is the lifespan of a windmill farm? What are the implications to the environment if you decommission? There's things that aren't recyclable, oil use, et cetera, in those. And they certainly said that's all part of this environmental assessment that's taking place. So, in the end, the report will be produced. There's a report that's produced about what individual citizens who are concerned have shared with the proponent and the whichever group they've used to collect the concerns, because they have to address those concerns and provide that to the organization. And so all that has to be presented on behalf of the proponent. And I guess what we're to trust the process and the agency that when they go down through this and they review it, that they are looking at the best interest of the environment, the organisms, the people that live within the area. All those things are within due consideration. They did say that, it's not their job to not support projects or block them. It's their job to assist in mitigating problems associated with projects, so that projects that are beneficial, I guess, for worthy projects can move ahead and mitigate any problems as successfully as possible. So, that's why a minute ago I was mentioning the three outcomes that can happen through the process. And simply, the second one was that a project could move ahead with conditions. So there may be some conditions that are put in place, but that'll all be yet to be seen. Or a project could be denied. And another individual asked, in that denial, can a person or a corporation or anybody appeal that? And the answer was yes, they can appeal it and ask for a judicial review. So there's, we're not there at any final decision being made. They suggested that it would be basically 6 months or more in the process. They don't typically see them in less than 6 months, although the timeline that's laid out could have something happen very, very much so in less than 3 months. We asked some hard questions around consultation. We didn't feel that a lot of our citizens felt that there was due consultation or public notice about the project moving forward. We did have some indication that perhaps on May 22nd, there was a bit of knowledge, but maybe not to the degree of our awareness of what was going to take place and when. So, yeah, so there's been some recognition of all of that. So we asked a number of questions today that I think some they could address because it dealt with the process, and the other questions really are for the organization, the proponent that is looking to install the wind farm, so. Yeah, but that's, so, I mean, that was, an hour and 15-minute meeting, I guess, summarized in about 10 minutes here, where we are. I think, and we talked after the meeting about, I certainly didn't look at these motions specifically, but I think they'd be more in line to do maybe some, public discussion, put a piece in the local media, the local paper, do the Q&A, in fact, like we said, put it on our website. You could also circulate it, in our newsletter, give a brief synopsis in the newsletter coming about where we are, in this process. And I say we, it's the greater we, it isn't the municipality of Hartland, because that's,
There's no need to go through these motions.
I don't think these apply after what we heard today. It does grieve me a little bit to say, with the request that we do something publicly, and I was keen to support that initially. I don't know, what we would do really that, right, that could satisfy any person. I think those that are keenly engaged have been calling on some individuals in their own circles and perhaps at a greater community. I think we
Access
provide,
to accurate information.
right,
The information that we post can be referenced and.
Right.
However, I think that's the biggest thing that we can do for the public.
So would that be council's desire then to go ahead with, the suggestion of CA or whatever, and Councillor Smith have made that we do some public engagement through our website and that sort of thing?
yeah,
Okay.
need a motion for that.
You could have a motion, it would be, if you take the second motion and subtract the sign to the Bedford. You just say Council Hartland agrees to have and you'd say a general FAQ on the Brighton energy project we shared with the public on the municipal website. Something to that effect.
Will we, maybe have something put in our local media, local newspaper, as well, just so that the residents understand a little bit, we could,
So I would, I'm thinking a little bit in real time here, what might be advisable is that, we do the FAQ, we review it in our, committee of the whole meeting in 2 weeks. To see that it was proper, I would review it with people who was new, like with the group we spoke to today, and make sure that I was representing what they shared with us.
How many representatives were here today?
3, I think. Just 3, 2 spoke, I think there might have been a third, but they didn't say anything, I could be wrong. 2 spoke, for sure.
yeah, that's accurate. So then before we read any type of motion, would it be appropriate to add in here that for those citizens of ours that have reached out that we know of, that are concerned, that we could send them some direct communication about what, to the ones that have been most engaged?
Yes. Yes, just update them on their,
Okay, so,
I think we. I think the general mission is sufficient, we can move forward with it, but what we're going to do is not post anything until the community level meeting. Unless promotion.
I don't think we need a motion tonight, we'll just work away on the FAQ and we'll review it at the next council meeting. If a motion is required, we can do that.
Okay.
Agreed.
great.
All right, move on to item 13, new business. First item is 13.1, invitation to political parties.
So, this is providing council the opportunity to declare that, they will accept invitations present from registered political parties and registered merit matters. Who seek to represent Hartland in the next provincial election, so local.
The expectation is going to be 5.
So Mr. Britton said that's not ever been done by council before. Is there a reason for that, or is it just that's the way it's always been? Never been.
I can't speak to what has taken part in the past. At this spring's Union of New Brunswick Municipalities. We certainly recognize that it was an election year. Since amalgamation, municipalities have asked for fiscal reform, which is code name for another revenue stream at the municipal level.
at those meetings, speakers from Manitoba and one of the other western provinces, and states me which one, spoke to what had taken place in their provinces on a percentage of provincial sales tax for the Manitoba model. And it brought, don't quote me on the numbers, but in excess of an extra $100 million into the municipal revenue streams. And I think the number is actually much higher than that. So Union of New Brunswick Municipalities and and you know who I mean, had suggested that municipal councils should reach out to political representatives and specifically ask the question on how municipalities and the services they provide will be financed, as well as any other companies that might come up at a local level. And this through our local representative, Amy Anderson, who lives in Woodstock. This has been an ongoing issue. It's been included in many of the updates that we noticed electronically. At those meetings, the minister of local government, as well as the party leader for all parties that were represented in the legislature, came and spoke to the meeting. So three provincial parties. And it's an outreach, it's an encouragement from the union, that we do that at the local level. But it's certainly optional, and it would be at the discretion of council. However, if that invitation is extended to one, it should be extended to all.
Absolutely.
And my statement that it hadn't been done before doesn't mean it's not a bad idea.
No, I just was wondering why it hadn't been done before, but that clears it up. I think it'd be great to have them in.
I don't know that it was ever thought of it before.
I think it'd be great to have them in, to have them on. Some people may, be listening to us and want to know what they have to say.
Maybe we should explore and see if they can all come the same night. Or would that be wise? I don't know.
I think they're all agreeable.
You have to give them time, but.
I was just speaking,
It's just a presentation.
Yeah.
5 minutes apiece or less.
Hartland has hosted a political provincial debate and a federal one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was the moderator for the federal one, and I participated in the provincial.
So it's 5 minutes enough though?
I think we could just that.
There would be
The taste.
4 at the most.
Five.
And I would suggest that you do it at a special time. It would be too much for the regular council.
A special meeting, a separate special meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, everyone's in favor?
I'd be more than interested to hear, absolutely.
Okay, so there is a motion before you.
Be it resolved, the Council of Hartland agrees to invite candidates from registered political parties who seek to represent Hartland in the next provincial government to speak at future council meetings prior to the provincial election.
If I may, should maybe you say a
Special.
special council meeting?
Sure. Future special meeting prior to the provincial election, moved by Councillor Smith.
Seconded by Councillor Sandal.
Motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Look at us being progressive.
October 21st. The election day.
Is it like October first is election
Yeah, I
day?
knew it had to be before the 25th.
And thank
Should
you.
we, before, maybe it should have been before, should we try to pick a date now that would work? Like, should we try to have that, if it's gonna be the 21st, that's only, a month and a half away, 6 weeks, and their schedule's probably quite.
You would have to
Let's find out if it's available.
Check and see their availability and. I'm definitely sitting in one. Item 13.2, new horizons for senior grants application.
So, this, agenda item enables council to ratify a decision earlier that would apply to the information of council. It's the awards of $25,000 and the town can decide to the extent to which we would match that in the application. In this case, we would be, contributing $1,000 for it. And the application is not exactly 25, it's something like 24, something. I don't have the figure, but, anyhow, and this is the ratified decision that we discussed previously.
Be it resolved that the Council of Hartland approves the town's application for the new Horizons for Seniors Grant as presented.
Senior.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any question? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 13.3, off-site council meetings.
Great idea. Should absolutely do it.
So, I know that there are other municipalities who have done this. I think it's a fabulous idea to take our council meetings to other community halls, referencing Coldstream and Waterville. And I think it would be nice for people to sit in and see how well behaved you all are, and just to see how things happen.
So would this be held at the Triple C and or Waterville? It's not.
To confirm, there's things like making sure Wi-Fi is available and things of that sort, so we'd still be recording. And the other note is that these are both committee of the whole meetings, and the second meeting of the month, when you'll notice intentionally, so the regular ones will still be here, but this week committee of the whole meetings, which lend itself to more discussion.
Right.
Fantastic idea.
Be it resolved, the Council of Hartland agrees to hold a council meeting on Tuesday, October 29th at an alternate location. Councillor Smith.
Seconded by Councillor Samwell.
Motion has been moved and seconded.
Question. Should we say it in the motion, or do you wanna wait and find out if we can, if the vehicle availability first before?
Confirming.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried.
Be it resolved that the Council of Hartland agrees to hold its council meeting on Tuesday, November 26th at an alternative location.
Seconded by Councillor Smith.
We've been seconded. Any question on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. And item 13 is our addition for this evening regarding the debenture.
So, this council was directed, we're moving forward with our application for $350,000 redemption addition to the two we've already applied for and received and been approved for, 1.8. So as part of that process, we need a motion of council to submit to the municipal capital boring board, and Councillor Mike Walton has the text there that we can read for this motion.
Resolved that the clerk and treasurer and or mayor be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Financial Corporation and local government of Hartland venture and in the provincial amount of $350,000 on such terms and conditions as the recommended by the New Brunswick Municipal Financial Corporation, and be it resolved that the local government of Hartland agree to issue post-dated checks payable to the New Brunswick Municipal Financial Corporation, and when they are requested in payment of the provincial and interest of the above due pressure. Let's certify that the above is a true and exact copy of the passed by the council and the local government of Hartland while the reserve special service held.
Seconded.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any question regarding this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Now, the date of our next meeting is Tuesday, September 24th. That's our committee of the whole meeting here at Council Chambers, 6:30. And October 8th is our regular meeting, again, 6:30 here in Council Chambers.
There may be the possibility that I may not be able to attend. I may be in the woods
When, or which,
the 24th.
Moose.
Yeah,
So will I.
there's a possibility.
Okay, so,
Two mooses.
That still leaves us.
Okay. okay, so we do have a closed session after this. If we could have a motion to.
Motion to adjourn, your worship.
5-minute break.
Thank you. Yes.
I need enough daylight to bike